let's talk about the ABC framework. ABC stands for always be closing. If you watched any movies like Glengarry Glen Ross or The Wolf of Wall Street, the authors and directors of these movies highlight the ABC framework, but in the wrong way. So always be closing. What does that mean for them, and what should it mean? For them, it means that you should be very aggressive in your sales. Always be closing for the business. Always be pushing people to the limit, squeezing everything out of a deal where possible, because you can get that deal and move on to the next. If you're not closing, then you have to follow up, and then there's a higher likelihood that they don't go ahead. So they suggest to close and push for that sale on the call. Now, I do think the ABC framework is useful, and I think it's useful in a few different ways. I think always closing some agreement, always closing some commitment for the next step is really key in sales. So always be closing that next appointment, that next meeting. Always have something in the diary scheduled. Even if it's 3 months down the line, they then have a timeline to then work towards getting the answer to you, getting the decision. If you don't have an agreed meeting or agreed follow-up in the diary with a date and a time with the prospect, then it's very easy for them to ignore, for it to drop down on their to-do list and not have the conversations that are necessary for them to make a decision on your solution. So yes, always be closing for that next step, not necessarily for the sale. So I like the ABC framework. It's catchy. However, I think we should approach it in a way of always be helping. As salespeople, we're consultants. We're trying to find solutions to the problem. If we're finding the solution to the problem, then we're helping people. Now that solution, that problem could be that they don't have enough information. It could be that they need to speak to their partner. They need to speak to the board. They need to run it by the rest of the team. They need to compare the pricing against what they've got already. Now you could let them go away with all of these different objections or points that they need to work on before making a decision. But if you're always helping the prospect, then you can help them have enough information. You can help them speak to their partners or the board. I need to speak to the board. I need to speak to my other partners in the business. My response to that would be, great, completely understand. If I sign something off without involving everyone else, then I would get in a lot of trouble. So I completely agree. It makes sense for us to have a sit down and share the plan with the partners. And I don't want to put all the weight on your shoulders of sharing the solution and talking through all the different technicalities of what we do. So is there a time that I can catch all of you or come to the next board meeting and present this solution? So again, not coming from a selling for the close now, understanding their stance and supporting them through the next steps. And I guarantee that in these situations, if people push for the close, yes, sometimes they may get the close there and then, but there's going to be strong buyer's remorse and the sale won't completely go through anyway. You're better off to help, take a stance of helping, guide people through the process, and the journey of purchasing and making the decision is just as important as the purchase itself.